Hello everybody, my name is Angerforge and today I'm going to be showing you the ins and outs of the Arms Warrior in 4.2. Is the changes in 4.2s to Warriors overall. Overpower now has a 1.5 second cooldown and global cooldown. So that means that as soon as you use it, the global cooldown timer will not just be your timer. You will have a 1.5 second cooldown. However, Taste for Blood's overpower cooldown hasn't changed. Therefore, that really hasn't changed anything other than if you weren't expertise capped and the boss somehow just like dipped on one of your attacks, you couldn't just double strike and overpower. That is the only thing they changed. The next thing they changed is Recklessness and Deadly Calm can no longer be used at the same time. Obviously it was a bit overpowered, and one cannot be used while the other is active. But using one does not put the other on its full cooldown. So you can cast Recklessness for the situation if it's not going to be damage intensive. You can pop Recklessness and just go crazy, and then let's say the boss starts doing an AoE. As soon as that falls off, pop Deadly Calm and Berserker Rage, and it will build your rage pool so that you can just unleash hell as soon as it comes off that AoE. Retaliation, Recklessness, and Shield Wall no longer have stance requirements. For Arms Warriors, Recklessness is a huge thing that stance dancing was a huge part of. Now no longer has to be done in order to get a Recklessness cast. The big thing for Arms is both Arms and Fury did kind of get a punch to the face as far as our damage, but it's nothing that can't be dealt with. I mean, it doesn't really affect us in a huge manner. Arms, two-handed weapon specialization, weapon damage increase has been lowered to 12%, down from 20. So it's an 8% buff to our two-handed damage, or debuff, sorry, basically, but it's really not going to make the whole ins and outs of our DPS. Alright guys, today we've already discussed the changes in 4.2, but now we're going to take a look at Reforging, stats, and priorities, how they differentiate and which ones may be more suitable to your class than others. Also gems and enchants. We'll have a brief rundown of anything and everything you'll need to know about what kind of gems and enchants you'll need on your gear. Specs and Glyphs. Now the spec I use is probably a little different than your typical cookie cutter build, but for me and my playstyle, it's suitable. I will run through the talents that are necessary for maximum DPS output, and then those leftover talents are really something you can play with. I will also go over the Glyphs, kind of show you ins and outs. And last but not least, we will go to the dummies and we will kick their face in, and I will show you how our rotation works, which is more of a priority based system than a set rotation. It's very situational. You have to adapt to what boss, maybe what encounter you are actually in. So let's start this off by Reforging and stats. Number one thing, you're a warrior. What do you think you're going to be using? Strength, of course. Strength is your number one stat. It's your output for damage. I mean, if you have intellect, I don't know how good of spells warriors have. I haven't really seen much. So that goes without saying. Definitely going to want strength as your number one stat. Following that, hit cap. You are going to want to be soft hit capped, which is 8%. As you can see, I'm a little bit over soft cap, which will not, it's not diminishing at all. It's not going to be a bad thing. If you can reforge a little bit of that excess hit chance, do it. But if you drop below 8%, restore it, because you definitely want to make sure you're 8%. The next thing is you're going to want to make sure that your expertise soft capped. You'll notice that at target chance 88 to skull, parry chance it pretty much will always be 7%. That's a pretty much a given. As long as the dodge chance is 0%, you will do just fine. Following your hit and expertise capped is crit. Crit is kind of self-explanatory. The more criticals, the more damage. As you can see, mine is a bit low. I actually prefer Reforging for Mastery, and we'll take a look at that right now. As arms, our mastery is Strikes of Opportunity, and right now I have almost a 40% chance for my melee attacks to instantly trigger an additional melee attack for 100% of normal damage. Each point of mastery increases this chance by 2.2%. They're about even in priority, almost. For me, I prefer mastery, but again, it's your playstyle. Figure out what you like, trying to go through it. It can be a little bit expensive to just reforge and restore, so following crit, typically for most arms warriors it would be mastery. We just went over what our mastery actually is. And last but not least is haste. Haste is just really bad for an arms warrior. It's just not what you want. I mean, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Next in line, we're going to go over gems and enchants. Now, gems and enchants, especially on my server, are overinflated as far as the pricing goes. It's ridiculous. You really have to just go with your budget. Pick up a gathering profession and farm like hell until you can buy all the gems and enchants you need. But for yellow sockets, as far as warriors are concerned, let's see, do I have any yellow sockets? I don't think I do, because I'm not going for crit. You would use an inscribed Ember Topaz, which is a 20 strength, 20 crit gem. If you want to go for reforging crit over mastery, I would gem your yellow sockets with those. I mean, that's the best idea in my opinion. Following that is blue sockets or Etched Demon's Eye. If you find yourself a little short on hit chance, you can do that. It is a 20 strength, 20 hit gem. Following that is our red sockets. It's a no-brainer. Bold Inferno Rubies. It's a plus 40 strength. And typically, the only way I would say gem, as you see here, gem for the socket bonus is if it's plus 10 strength. In some instances, I didn't actually do this, like here. I can't remember which gem. Yeah, it's a blue. So I could have put a Etched Demon's Eye in for the socket bonus of 10. Typically, you want to do that, but because I was, I was hit capped, I was like, nah, why not? We'll just throw the 40 strength gem in. And last but not least is your beautiful meta gem. This is the Reverberating Shadow Spirit diamond, and this gives you 54 strength and 3% increased critical damage. Yeah, it's good. Some like to go with that, I believe it's the chaotic one that increases your crit chance and crit damage. That is also a viable option. However, stat being our strength being our primary stat, I typically like to go with that. As for enchants, for your helm, you want your enchant from Wildhammer, as for Alliance, or Dragon Maw for Horde. It gives 60 strength and 35 mastery. I have not got Exalted with Therazane yet, but you will want your Therazane shoulder enchant, which the Exalted one is 50 strength, and I'm not sure if the crit changes, but right now I have the Honored one, which is 30 strength and 20 crit. The next thing you want for your cape is, like I said, my prices are incredibly inflated, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not the richest guy on the planet. So, I went for 50 crit. The best in slot, as per pre-tier 12 rating, is your 65 crit. It's greater critical strike enchant, and it gives you only 15 crit more. But this enchant was I think 110 gold on my server, whereas if you wanted 15 more crit for the best in slot one, it was 3.5k. Not gonna happen. I'm sorry, Dell, my raid leader. I am not gonna spend an extra 3.5k to get 15 crit rating. Sorry if that offends you. The next thing you're going to want is chest peerless stats. Like I said, these enchants are inflated. So, for the time being, I just went, I think it's mighty stats, which gives you a plus 15 all stats. However, peerless does give you plus 20 stats. Moving on to bracers. Bracers, you can do mighty strength. I won't even say it because I've already said it twice now. But instead, I went with the 50 critical strike because I haven't been reforging crit, so I feel like that's probably one of the best ideas. Would be to just enchant that. Following bracers, we'll go to gloves. Gloves, you want mastery. Although I took or you could do the mighty strength as well, which is a 50 strength. I didn't choose to. I took the 35 strength. For your belt, you want an even steel buckle, which will allow you to gem whatever gem you want. It's a prismatic socket. Followed by dragon scale. This gives you 190 attack power and a plus 55 crit rating. Moving on to boots, I did put the hit rating because I fell a little short. I think at this point I actually could change that. One of the things I would advise, it says mastery is probably the best, but I may think that I think it's Lava Walker, and it gives you some mastery and increased movement speed. And for fights like Atramedes and stuff like that, there is a lot of movement, and that increased movement speed may be nice. If you are an enchanter, you can do 40 strength to your rings. I am not, so I don't have that. And last but not least, you get your weapon. Landslide is hands down the best enchant you can have on your weapon. It is a bit pricey. I don't know about your guys' servers, but for mine it was a bit pricey, but it is definitely worth it. As it procs, when it procs, you get 1,000 additional attack power. So, definitely worth having.